Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to ECH Postgame Live. Wow, Afra, you're excited to be joining in right away. Here, you know what? Show them what you're wearing.
We need it right away.
There we go. Look at you wearing the
Oh,
awesome bandana that your mom actually made for her,
yes,
and I think you still have some from the meetups. So if
I
people
do.
are
Definitely.
interested.
Next meetup, we're not going home with any more of these. We're gonna give them all out. I know they're popular, so yeah, it looks great on her too. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mom.
Yes, thank you, RJ's mom. We will. You can come back on in a little bit, Afro. We gotta get this thing started. So I'd been talking about this game, RJ, as like a playoff primer. This is the way that we could kind of see where the Kraken are at and gauge what's going on with them. And then of course you get a shootout loss from that. So I don't know what that means come playoff time. um, but it was an interesting game. Like I'm having a hard time kind of figuring out what I'm feeling after this one because there was some positives for the Kraken, but there was, obviously still walked away with only 1 point.
Right. A couple different times during this one, I kind of changed what I felt like the narrative was of the game. I mean, this is something, we do post game live after every single Kraken game. And I always try and think of, okay, how am I going to sum this one up? What's the story of this game? So as the game is going on, I'm always thinking about that. And it changed a few times. After the first period, I was thinking missed opportunities. You
Mhm.
don't score on 6 minutes of power play time in the first and a chance where you can really, take an early lead in the
Yep.
game. And then in the second period, you get scored on, you get one, and then you get the Kraken's second goal off that weird bounce, and all of a sudden you're leading going into the third, and you feel like, okay, maybe despite those missed opportunities, they're finding a way to win. And of course, Philip Grubauer looks like he might just steal a win. I mean, it would take some
Yes.
kind of crazy bounce or ridiculous goal, to get even one more by him, and then what do you know? In the third period, the bounces even out. And then all of a sudden you're left with, all right, well, what do we think about this game? And then it goes to a shootout and the normal shootout woes continue. But you're right. I don't exactly know what to think.
It's really complicated because the special teams was bad again, although technically we won the battle there by getting the only power play goal of the game. So
Just like they
yay.
drew it up.
Yes, it only took, it deflecting off of two different Jets players to get through.
Why
Um,
didn't we suggest that? We talked about ways to fix the power play.
you,
We totally skipped that.
just start going for it. Start trying to shoot off of the opposing team. Why not at this point? You have nothing else to lose if you're the Kraken power play. You have that, but yes, I'm glad you brought up Philip Grubauer because I think that's the one key takeaway that you have to have from a night like tonight is that Philip Grubauer, yes, he picked up the loss. Yes, he allowed the 2 goals or whatever, but he's walking out of there with a 950 save percentage. And that still doesn't even tell the story of what he actually was in this game, which was phenomenal. I mean, that is one of the best goaltending performances we've seen from him since he has been a member of the Seattle Kraken. He was strong in his crease. He played big. He stopped some big time moments. And really, you look at the goals that were scored. One, it's a bad bounce, like you said, it goes in off of Dunn. The other one, it was just that Alexiak Borgen pairing kind of forgetting that they have to play in front of him again. They both were just like way away from him and just allowed, not a bad player in Blake Wheeler, just walk in and do whatever he wanted in front of Philip Grubauer there. So I think the story of this one has to be Philip Grubauer. He was so fantastic. I was so happy to see him get the start. He is
Yep.
clearly the 1A now. And then after a game like tonight, there is no way he is giving up this crease anytime soon.
No, no way whatsoever. I mean, he has been absolutely on his game the entire year of 2023. But it feels like he just kind of keeps inching better and better. And in this one, you're right. The save, that 950 save percentage doesn't even fully tell the story. I mean, I just look at expected goals. He saved almost 2 goals above expected in this game. I mean, that's crazy for a single game to be able to do
Yes.
that. But watching the game, it's no surprise.
Yeah, I absolutely believe it. Having watched the game, he was just so fantastic. All right, because she's still bugging me. Here you go. Happy Valentine's Day. You're my Valentine. Yes, yes, yes. All is good. All right, go snuggle somewhere else. That's what Valentine's Day is all about, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. Okay, let's start off here with Hunter special teams. What more do I have to say? It's true. I mean, that first period especially, that was your chance to set the tone for this game, and you get lucky. You get the 6 minutes of power play time, and just nothing again. Just literally nothing.
Yeah, it was so stagnant too. I was kind of recording the whole of the first couple power plays, and just the amount of times they're just in that 1-3-1.
Yep.
They're not moving at all. They're maybe moving the puck around the outside a little bit. Finally, Matty Beniers on that first one just takes the puck toward the middle. He's like, all right, guys, we are going to move around a little bit. It just resulted in a normal point shot because nobody else was really with him on that. I mean, they even hesitated. Like, are you sure? Can I not just stay in my spot?
Yes.
But yeah, the power play needs work.
You know what, they did the one time they tried to make a pass to the bumper and then it didn't go through and they were like, oh, I guess that's just off the table for the night. But they attempted it once, so gotta give them credit for that at the very least. Couple super chats here. First one from JMG. Why not use Maddie in the shootout? Donato and Eberle are terrible. Similar to what you actually said, the first thing out of your mouth tonight when we logged on here.
Yes, exactly. As we were logging on, getting ready to start the stream, I said one thing. I was like, I just want to see Maddie in the shootout. Is that too much to ask? And
I said
apparently
yes.
It is. And you said yes. So there's your answer.
I'm trying to pull up the shootout results going into this one. Yeah, Donato was 0 for 2 going into this game.
He doesn't have a career shootout attempt yet, does he?
Donato? Or Maddie?
No, sorry, Maddie, yeah.
Yeah, Maddie doesn't have one yet.
Yeah.
Donato was 0 for 2 before tonight. Eberle 1 for 1 on the season going into tonight's game. So, I guess Eberle, you could make the argument to keep him around in there. But yeah, Donato, go ahead and swap him out. And then Sprong 0 and 2 on the season as well. The other super chat from Braun here. Hey boys, happy Valentine's Day. Love you and chat and the Kraken. Who is your biggest Kraken crush? Maybe Bowie?
Well, I know who yours is, Dylan.
I was going to say mine should be fairly easy to figure out for everybody. The big cat Adam Larson here. And I stick with that. Although, you know what? I will give some shout out, some love to Maddie. I wore the Maddie for Calder shirt today, hoping to get him going in this game, hoping he could pick up a points. Just didn't quite work out.
Yeah, I know. I trying to get the energy going. It'll come for him, and I think it'll kind of open the floodgates there. Biggest Kraken crush. That's a tough question, especially covering the team, covering the guys day to day. I don't biggest Kraken crush. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Oh, come on, RJ. You haven't secretly been eyeing somebody these past 2 years. Come on. All right, that's fair. Coop, really wish Alexiak didn't give away a goal in this one, huh? I'm really surprised at how long we are seeing this. I think when the team comes back, they start practicing at home. Maybe they reevaluate where Justin Schultz is at as far as his injury. I just cannot imagine the Alexiak Borgen D pair hanging around much longer, RJ.
I know. I just, the matters of miscommunication that you have there. I mean, that goal was, kind of a textbook example there where just you have to know what the other guy is doing. And it's not necessarily, like again, Borgen kind of goes behind the net once he sees what Alexiak's doing with it, and leaving the net front wide open. But it's all about knowing where they're going with the puck. And if you look at where the forwards are on that goal too, they're not expecting Alexiak to do that. The forwards are jumping. They're out of the zone immediately. They're looking for that quick play up the boards and get the puck into the neutral zone really quick. So again, it's just a communication thing. And that pair just doesn't have as much time together. And like you said, they're the two guys who, are prone sometimes to fits of absent-mindedness. Putting the two of them together maybe isn't the best idea.
Yeah. Another super chat here from CR Bud. Sorry if this has been asked. I've been away. Why has Sprong fallen out of favor with this team struggling to score? Thanks. So yes, Sprong, he was starting to get scratched. Then obviously the Andre Burakovsky injury happens. He gets back in the lineup, not given a lot of ice time. And then in this one, scratched in favor of John Hayden, which despite playing 7 minutes, only 7 minutes, he did pick up, a good goal for the Kraken. It was a good decision to make, sticking him in on his 28th birthday. So happy birthday, John Hayden. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a multitude of factors. Sprong, I think, his game was becoming a little predictable. Other teams were kind of being able to shut him down a little bit, and then he wasn't adding a lot as far as helping generate chances on the forecheck, helping maintain possession in the offensive zone, as well as the back checking had really kind of fallen off.
Yeah, you look at the little things that Sprong had done besides the scoring, and a lot of those had kind of dried up, as you mentioned. That the defensive play wasn't there as much, and even the kind of shooting instincts. Again, if he was still scoring goals and forcing the issue, he'd be in the lineup. You know, if he was still scoring like a goal every other game, like he was, then I think the other parts of it wouldn't matter as much. But when that scoring dries up, you better be doing the other things, and I think that's been lacking a little bit lately.
Yep, for sure. Kraken Hawk, the Kraken are regressing. Why? Is it because they're missing Berkey? Hubris? What could it be? It's becoming frustrating and jeopardizing their chances to make the dance. I still think they're doing all right playoff wise. And you know what? Tonight against a good Jets team to pick up the 1 point, like that is still really big as far as salvaging this pretty awful road trip that they've had. I really do believe that. Some of it's missing Berkey. We talked about it a lot on this last episode of the podcast, the deep dive that we released yesterday. It's special teams, like that's really killing them. You look at all the other top teams in the league, they do not have to deal with the ridiculous kind of special teams disadvantage that the Kraken are dealing with right now. And I still kind of point towards that first and foremost. But secondly, as far as struggling to score, I brought it up on that as well. They had the highest shooting percentage of any team in the league. Like at some point, a lot of these guys, like a Jared McCann, they had to start regressing down towards some sort of mean, some sort of average, because you can't sustainably shoot over 20% and realistically expect to think that you're going to get away with that for over the course of an entire season. And unfortunately for the Kraken, it seems like a lot of those guys are regressing all at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of coincided in a way that, like you said, is unfortunate there, and it's just something that's naturally going to happen. But that's where you kind of have to dig deep and just create those, dirty looking goals and go to the areas where goals just generally tend to come from. And you're not always going to just beat the goalie clean when you're playing, when you're playing like that. Sometimes you will, and we've seen that earlier in the season where those goals come in bunches. But when they're not, it's about playing the way that you played, like in say that Boston game, where you're just going to the spots where you're going to create goals, kind of no matter how the puck bounces, you're going to get one of those.
Definitely. But yeah, if you want a more in-depth breakdown, we do that on the deep dive. We're throwing around all sorts of numbers, really looking at them versus all the other kind of top 10 teams based on points percentage in the league. So I would give that a listen. Joshua, special teams and passing. that kind of says it all, right? That's a lot of it right there, kind of answering Kraken Hawk's question. Hunter, I'm at the breaking point with Wenberg and Alexiak. They both hurt the team more than they help and are $4+ million contracts. We've already talked about Alexiak. The big thing with Wenberg in this one, you had the good tweet about it on the ECH account, RJ, of him kind of doing a Wenberg special or pulling a Wenberg. All he's got to do is just send that puck backhand. He's got a wide open net, and instead he goes for some pass that doesn't even get through.
Yeah, it was the Wenberg special, as I called it. I mean, again, I like him. Wenberg does a lot of good things. I thought overall he had a pretty good game tonight. Mm-hmm. But man, you look at that and just like only Alex Wenberg would think on that chance, I should pass this. And he was going pass all the way. It's just the thing with him. Kraken fans have learned it's what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's kind of, we talk about why is the power play kind of rough. I still think him being the net front guy doesn't make sense. Like if those are going to be his instincts, net front, when the rebound is there for him, he should not be net front on your power play. That's it. Yeah, full stop. Simple. Like this.
Put Yanni Gourde there instead. Just
absolutely, because the net front person, they are there to screen the goaltender, and then when the rebound is there, to try to jam it home. And if he's going to just kind of try to pass it back out of the crease, like that's the high danger area. You know what I mean? Like you look at the goals, as you were saying, Philip Grubauer, all those goals saved above expected in this game alone. I guarantee you what added so much to that number was all those in tight saves that he was making, those big time saves in and around the crease. There's a reason those are counted so highly in all of the expected goals models. It's because they're really high danger chances. So if you have somebody there who's playing in that spot and refuses to take those high danger chances, you have to remove them from that situation. It's just that simple. Coop,
Yep.
also, I was right about Eberle. Why put the guy who just missed a wide open game winner right back into the shootout over Maddie or McCann? I will say this about the shootout. Like, if you are going to go, if you don't feel like you have somebody who's kind of like a deke master, who's just going to like be able to do some spinorama or the Forsberg or whatever it is, why not go with the guy who is shooting like 23% on the season? Just let McCann walk in and try to snipe it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and at least you'll get a shot going, and I know people have kind of complained about at least get a shot on net, make the goalie have to stop it. I wouldn't have a problem with McCann. I think at this point, I mean, heck, just switch up all three from what you've been going with. Go with 3 new shooters next time. You've got nothing to lose.
Absolutely. I'm kind of there with everybody. DJ and Tay, listen, it's not Gru's fault. We can't make shootout goals. Big Gru for even getting us to a shootout. 1000% agree. Like I said,
Yep.
Gru,
Stole
all the
a point.
stars. If anybody's ever deserved the Davy Jones hat during a loss, it's Grubauer tonight.
Yep. And I think I saw one tweet, so I can't like confirm it, but I think he was named first star of the game, and well deserved.
Yes, definitely. We got outskated for too much of that game from Tammy. That was part of it, especially in the first. I mean, without having that 6 minutes of power play time at the beginning of that game, shots are not even coming out of that first period at 11 each. Like without that, like at 5-on-5, they were getting destroyed, the Kraken.
Game. Real quick comment from CR Bud here. This gave me a laugh here. RJ, when he saw Curry open at the top of the key, you got to make that pass.
You got to make that
automatic.
pass. I agree. You do
Great
have to make that
there.
pass. Sorry, I got my camera out of focus. There we go. Sergeant Pickles got some studs and duds here for us. Good to see you again, Sergeant Pickles. Studs hit by a blow dart from the second deck. Epic call by John Forsland. That was unbelievable.
Yes.
I laughed so hard when he said that.
That got an audible laugh from me too. That was a great call.
Fantastic.
What was the other one that I liked?
When he said,
yeah, go ahead. I think you got it.
When he said, John Hayden turned 28. I did that like many years ago or something like that. That one I liked.
Yeah, that was a good one. The one I liked was the scoreboard said make some noise, so they did. Then they stopped. How about that?
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, like, at least they know how to respond to a command. He's feeling spicy on his birthday.
Definitely
today.
Spicy. Another birthday boy we got to give a shout out to. Apple's got us a Valentine's Day gift and hoped his new girlfriend wouldn't notice. Gru, you still love me? Of course I grew. I like that. Sergeant Pickles. And then Duds. 5v3.5 double miter and can barely get off a shot, shaking my head. Jets go out for Valentine's and then ask their date for a rain check. They never pay back. Shootout giveth and shootout taketh away. Yes, unfortunately. Coop with that power play at least looked better in that we got zone entries and passed the puck into the slot and got a shot from Schwartz there, but it's still so feeble. I mean, I'm just never going to get over it. And kind of, again, they didn't dig themselves a hole in this one, at least, unlike like the Rangers game, but still, whenever you're going to get that kind of advantage special teams wise, where you can get essentially three penalties there at the beginning of a game, got to get one of those if you want to build anything for the rest of that game, build momentum, kind of steal some back after you're getting outshot. It is brutal.
Yeah, just have to convert there.
Tammy Alexiak might as well have just shot that first goal in himself, redeemed himself with that pass for our first goal, but still, Wheeler House squad, Alexiak Borg needs to not be a pairing, so everybody really seems on board with this one. Coop, kind of sucks that this combined with the first Jets game means stupid defenders cost us a combined 2 points. Yeah, I mean, that first Jets game, that was very much what it was for this team as well. Let's see. From how would you pronounce this?
Viharen?
Yes, there we go. You guys have helped me appreciate Wenberg's strength, but I still never want to see him on the power play ever again. I think we're all on board with that one.
Yep. Yep.
Some love for Afra there. Ty, lost one we deserve to lose. Yikes, this thing is kind of in shambles. Rest of the league is picking up, and we are dropping like a rock in the standings. Special teams are horrible. That is all. That's a lot still, but it's true. Let me pull back up the standings. I mean, look, the 1 point helps a lot. It gives you the separation over Edmonton, so you're in third place in the division clean. Still, you're only 1 point behind Los Angeles with a game in hand there. Looking at the wild card, things are still okay. Like it's one of those situations where the Kraken are going to do. I still really believe like things would have to go really bad for them to miss the playoffs entirely, RJ. But what you have to start worrying about is that you put yourself in a position where you end up in the central bracket, which is
Yes.
not the place to be.
Yeah, we were talking about this, the other day, looking at the standings, and again, we were fine with a lot of different positions because I think give the Kraken a playoff series, even without home ice against any of these specific division teams. I think they've got, at least a 50-50 shot. They're going to be just, have a fair series in it. What you don't want to have is a series where you are all of a sudden in the central bracket and you've got to go through teams like a Winnipeg, like Dallas, like maybe a Colorado. You don't want to have to deal with that in the first 2 rounds on your path to a potential conference final. So that's the problem. If you're in the top wild card spot, you should be okay. But in that last wild card, it's going to be really tough.
Definitely. So that's more so what I'm worried about for the Kraken at this point, rather than them missing the playoffs, because you're still looking at over Calgary. You're still looking at a 5-point lead there for the second wild card spot.
Cushion.
So yeah, that's all right. Strata, good teams figure out how to get a point in this situation, and they did. Credit to Grubauer for doing that, but they did. Shootouts are the worst part of hockey from Wheeler House Squad. Lots of people would agree with you there. DJ and Tay, maybe I'm misremembering, but earlier in the year, weren't the Kraken shooting the puck off the board by the goal as an extra pass to set up goals? Was that by accident, or did they get away from that? I know what you're talking about. I legit think that was by accident. I think they were just shooting wide a lot, and they were getting good bounces.
Yeah, I think that's what it was too. I don't think that was intentional.
Yeah, that has been a strategy some teams have used. I remember some old Red Wings teams. They knew exactly.
They had some lively boards at the Joe.
At the Joe, exactly. There was spots where they were completely dead and spots where that thing, it was like just rubber. It might as well have been made out of rubber. And the Red Wings knew exactly how to manipulate that to their advantage. But yeah, I don't, I'd love to give Kraken credit there, but I think they were just missing shots. Coop, imagine if Hellebuck played tonight. Lol, couldn't get more than 2 on Riddick. That was part of it. I did think that same thing, RJ. We got lucky and missed Hellebuck, but like still, you gotta take advantage was when the goalie gets sick and the backup gets thrown in there.
Exactly. And the Kraken have somehow dodged Hellebuck 5 of the 6 meetings overall against the Jets. I always seem to remember that whenever the Jets come up, I'm like, oh, playing against Hellebuck, that's going to be tough. And it seems like they never do. So yeah, like I'm going to echo your line on Jack Hughes. Just whenever the Jets come to town,
just
Hellebuck
disappears. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder there.
It's your line. Go for it.
Yeah. Nathan probably should have won, but I'll take a point. Come back home and get hot, and Maddie some points. Gru is looking good. I think that's still the big takeaway is Gru has looked good through all of these starts and has kind of, entrenched himself in the crease. That gives me a lot of hope, especially after a night like tonight, where, as we said, 950 save percentage. I will take that every night, regardless of the rest of the outcome.
Yeah, no, agreed. I will absolutely take that.
Yeah. Daniel, Dunn and Grubauer really need to get on the same page. So yeah, on that second goal given up, where it goes off Dunn's shin and Dunn essentially kind of kicks it in. I was wondering why Dunn was playing so far off in that situation. Like, I get Larson was tied up coming off of the faceoff. He's pushed out a little farther. Vince Dunn, in my opinion, given where all the Winnipeg Jets were and the fact that you're coming off of a faceoff all loaded up on that other side, I thought it was kind of odd that Vince Dunn was even in the position he was in. I like that he was still net front, right? Like, that's different than the Alexiak-Borgen pairings problem. But I would have liked to have seen him back on the other side of the crease, really challenging that shooter physically. There was kind of no need for him to be on that other side, locking that down when there wasn't a single member of the Winnipeg Jets over there because of the face-off being on the other side. You know what I mean? Like that was, I think, just one of those moments where he was just like, oh, this is the spot I'm supposed to be. And so he went there instead of kind of reading the play in front of him.
Yeah, and looking at it now, I kind of pulled it back up. I mean, he is really concerned about that backdoor pass, and that's even why he kind of slides in there at the end. And again, normally, if your defenseman if the other defenseman, because Larson comes out to challenge the shot, which is not the worst play,
No.
but if you do have someone in there on Dubois, then Dunn doesn't have to kind of panic and try and get back into that spot. It's just a tough one moving as quickly as it is. That's just a tough bounce off him too, because all he's trying to do is just prevent that pass across. And it happens to hit him in the skate. Like I don't have a huge problem with that, but that shorty the other night, that's one that needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, that was definitely an issue.
I assume you're referring to that in the comment there.
Yeah. Stratic Grew looked like a good playoff goalie in this one. He did. I mean, that's the kind of performance you get that in playoff games. You'll win some games that maybe you don't always deserve to win. And as we talked about, RJ, sometimes that'll help you steal the whole series.
Exactly. Goalies can do that. And it's something that happens every year in the playoffs. A goalie will steal a series or come very close. If you saw Jake Ottinger in that Flames Stars series last season,
year.
You know exactly what I mean.
Absolutely. Daniel, PK was great tonight. It was. And you know why? Because they could clear the puck.
Yep. Getting those clears, getting it out of the zone when you can makes a big difference. And I think, we've talked about the Kraken having trouble once a clear happens of just getting back entry into the zone and getting set up. It's kind of a universal thing. And the Kraken tend to have more problem with it than other teams, but it's easier to hold the blue line than it is to try and play defense when you're already in your own zone.
Absolutely. And against this Winnipeg team, I mean, they got some legit guys out there.
Oh yeah.
So it was a good performance from that PK unit. Let's see, Tammy, our 3v3 still looks pretty good. We didn't get it done, but much improved over the beginning of the year. I was gonna say this, RJ. See, you could play fun 3-on-3 back and forth hockey and not lose the game in overtime.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, they did manage to escape. You better hope your goalie's having a good game. And Grubauer was, so they knew that going in. But that would definitely look more fun than the last time the Kraken got it to a shootout through an overtime period. That's for sure. But yeah, since taking those couple days of overtime practice, of 3-on-3 practice earlier this season, the Kraken haven't lost a game in overtime. Right. And that's been a huge turnaround. I mean, they lost the first 3, I think, and then went on to win the next 5. And, then the couple no decisions going to a shootout. But that's a huge turnaround. And it's a big reason for those points. Think about where they'd be without those points in the standings. They'd be out of a playoff spot.
Right. And I'm trying to remember, was that after the first Jets game?
Yes, it was.
That was the overtime loss. That was the catalyst for all of it. Yeah. So kind of coming full circle there for the Kraken. Coop, nothing frustrates me more than not even hitting the net in a shootout. At least make the guy stop the puck. I get that, but it's one of those, like, if you're going to rifle something and try to go up, high up, it sometimes just runs on you. It just happens.
Yeah.
Gregory Grubauer played his butt off once again. Offense needs to score more with him in the net. I'm sure it's just Gru's diary is just like, played fantastic today. Only got two goals in support. Like, it's
and
just
none
that
in the shootout.
Yes, it's just that every day. Let's see. Daniel asking, why not use Geeky in the shootout with his family in the barn? How about that? Connor able to have a night off, get to watch Big Bro. That was pretty cool.
That's great. No, I felt good for him there. And especially Geeky. Didn't he get an assist on Hayden's goal?
Yes, he did. It was a sweet assist too. Like that made that play happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, he stepped up already. I mean, I don't know, maybe give him a shot. Given what they've done in the shootout so far, how the normal shooters are going, I wouldn't have had a problem with it.
I was going to say, and this is before I even read your next comment there, Daniel, about how he killed it in the skills showcase. I was just going to say, I think his best bet is just to take a slap shot. And I was forgetting that was before I remembered. Oh yeah. And he shoots 104 with those slap shots. Like, but I legit think he should try that in a shootout. Just go for it.
Yeah. Just walk in clapper. I dare Riddick to stand in front of it.
His one breakaway goal on this season was a slap shot like that. He just came in and slapped it. It worked. So why not?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Joey pointing out we're now 0-3 on the shootout, and then the road trip was a disappointing 1-3-1. It was, but imagine how much worse it would look if it was 1-4.
Yeah.
It's weird to think that 1 point could make such a difference, but it can. Stratic, Wenberg not throwing a backhand at a wide open net was the most Wenberg of all Wenbergs that has ever Wenberged.
Yeah, it's really up there.
It's
That
true.
might be, yeah, one of the most Wenberg things I've seen.
All right, here's the real question, RJ. Coop asking, do we think Morgan Geeky is jealous of his brother's head of hair? Connor's got some lettuce.
Watch it, as Geeky would say. Do you remember that tweet from draft day? Someone saying, I'd recognize the shine off that ball hit anywhere, and he just said, "Watch it."
Yep. So there is your answer there. Nicole's Gaming pointing out we are 0-2 on Valentine's Day.
That's a stat.
Kraken,
I'm definitely bringing that
love.
up next season if they have a game on Valentine's Day.
Yep, Kraken, unlucky in love. What can we say? We got to make some sort of rom-com about it. Ty, missing our top 10 all-time shootout dream machine, Donskoy. He sits number 9 with a 56.25% shootout percentage. Absolutely.
He is a beast in shootouts. I've been live to a lot of his best shootout goals, whether they were in San Jose or the couple that he had in Seattle before the injury. Yeah, he's so good. The Kraken miss him there. I don't know if could you just dress him for just that. There's no way he'll take any contact to his head or anything. It's just a shootout attempt.
Yep. All teams should be able to have an emergency shootout shooter that you can throw in right off the bat. Should not even you go through the whole lineup. I'm trying to think.
Jokinen will come out of retirement.
People would totally be down for that. I was just gonna say, what's the longest shootout you remember watching, RJ?
Oh, that's a good question.
I remember a Penguins Capitals one that went 13 deep, and it was like you're starting to go with all your defensemen now, and everybody's like, "Oh man, like are we gonna see Brooks Orpik in this shootout?"
Yeah. No, there are some long ones. I can't. No one comes to mind right off the bat, though. Off the top of my head now.
That's fine. DJ and Tay, biggest Kraken crush has to be Davy Jones, right? Yes, that's a legit.
Okay, yes, Davy Jones. There you go. Or I mean, he hasn't been around a ton this season. Maybe Cheddar. Jared McCann's dog.
Cheddar's a good one for sure. Let's see. Joshua could be paying attention to the miscues, but it seems like Maddie is struggling. Hasn't scored in a while. His passing hasn't been like it was, and he keeps losing possession of the puck all the time. I think the possession thing is just he's trying to do a little bit too much out there, which is pretty normal, especially for a young player when going through a slump, but really any player going through a slump. His defense has still been stellar. You still see it like whenever, if he is out there, when Alexiak Borget is out there as a D pair, just watch Maddie. It's really funny because he kind of gets a read on it before it's even happening, and he'll go net front. He's almost more aware of that than any of the other centers on the Kraken team. He's the most likely to be found net front trying to be a defenseman. Whether he's effective at it or not depends on who he's up against, but he's still young. But he's the most likely center to pick up that coverage and to kind of be there for his goaltender. So I think a lot of it just has to do with he's just trying a little too hard because of the slump.
I agreed. And this is something that a lot of players fall into. We see Jordan Eberle. It happens to him kind of regularly these last couple seasons. And, if it can happen to a veteran like that, it's easy for a younger player to kind of fall into that slump as well.
Yes, and as Kus saying, Maddie has still been feeding people; they just aren't finishing. I will say part of it's just luck too. Like in that Flyers game when he had 2 blocked shots or he had a blocked shot on the empty net, then an empty net like zone clear that went just wide, and then he also couldn't get the pass through to McCann to score on the empty net. Like he was doing everything he possibly could to try to pick up a point there and end it. It just wasn't happening for him.
Yeah.
X-Kid Z asking, can you switch goalies for the shootout?
Yes, you can. I've been looking forward to this comment. I saw it later down in the chat because it gives me the opportunity to bring up a kind of a weird hockey memory that I remember. This is a ways back, but Ron Wilson used to be the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and legendary coach, also former San Jose Sharks coach. And he had this policy. He knew that his often starting goalie, Vesa Toskala, was not that good in shootouts. And so he put his backup, Curtis Joseph, in cold in shootouts. And it did not work very well. I don't remember how many times he did it, but I don't think they ever got a win. And he said before the game, I tell my goalies, if it goes to a shootout, I'm going to switch you. But it was kind of an odd thing. And of course, with the lack of success there, I think that just kind of died.
Yeah, it's rough to bring in a goalie who's just been sitting there all night for at least the last 2.5 hours. I think the scariest aspect of it isn't necessarily that they're cold and they haven't seen a shot. And now they're in this really high pressure, worst case scenario for a goaltender where it's just a shooter one-on-one with you. It's also the idea of you risk injury because if they do try to do something, try to make an acrobatic save after just being sitting and not having stretched recently and all that, you could risk a soft tissue injury pretty easily, I would think, in that scenario. So
hey, but you know what? Curtis Joseph didn't mind. Here's his quote: "It's entertainment, right?"
Gotta love Cujo. Cujo is the best. I miss him so much. Oh man. Let's see. A Krakenhawk vouching to bring in Ryan O'Reilly from St. Louis. We have two young centers who can be the centerpieces for years. Might as well give up some picks for impact players. Definitely agree with that. And you know what? Again, tonight there was a couple times where it was like, geez, if we could just win this face-off, things would look so much better.
Yeah, you look at the tying goal in the game. It came off a lost face-off in the D zone. That's huge.
Yeah. Joey asking, when is Andre Burakovsky coming back?
Don't know. He's week to week. So it'll be a little while. I think Ron Francis even said in an interview, like a little while or a while. So don't expect him back anytime soon. I would think, maybe around the start of March would be the earliest we'd see him. And of course, we'll see him on the ice skating and kind of easing into things before he would come back.
Yeah. I'll point out 2 points out of first in the division, 4 points out of first in the conference. Got 1 point tonight, and people are complaining. Look how far you've come, Seattle. I mean, it is true. Like it's been a rough stretch here, but like we were talking about earlier, looking at the standings and stuff, the Kraken are doing okay. It's just tight. Which the bottom line is that's going to be entertaining. Like you brought this up, RJ. It just means the rest of the season, every night is going to be like must-watch hockey, and we're going to be that much more invested in it and enjoying that ride.
Yeah, every game matters. I mean, from here all the way through April, and that's awesome. That's where you want to be. 4 months ago, every single one of us would take that.
Yeah. Let's see. Can we sneak Sarah Nurse into our shootout lineup? Again, like I said, if we can sign like shootout specialists, I say go for it. Can we bring her in to replace one of Alexiak or Borgen on that D pair? I'd be okay with that too. Lindsay, only half a broken heart on Valentine's Day, getting 1 of 2 points. See, it's yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go. Ty Wenny, the top of my shop at the deadline list. I think he's doing enough to have some value, but I don't think it's something we will miss. Kraken fans need to see what a true disruptive center can do. Yeah, what we should do is try to get Ryan Kessler to come out of retirement. The ultimate disruptive center in the playoffs, in my opinion.
This is just the who can we get to come out of retirement post game, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I think right now, I think we talked about this, whether it was on a podcast or post game, somewhere we talked about it. I don't think Wenberg has positive value right now, given that his contract still has another year left on it at 4.5. He's the kind of guy who would probably have a lot of value next year at the deadline. But yes, I mean, for the same reason that you'd like to move him, I think teams would realize that he's not really playing up to what that contract is.
Yeah, it's just kind of a situation they just have to deal with. We've talked about it. I've brought up the positives that he has. Like I not so much to like tell all of you guys, but also in part just to like make myself okay with it. It's like just to remind myself like there is some value here. It's just the bottom line is he isn't living up to that contract, unfortunately. We're not seeing the same offense that we saw from him that last year in Florida before he hit free agency. Imagine that, RJ, somebody in their contract year just all of a sudden they can score and then they just stop scoring again. But it is just kind of it's a little bit of a rough situation. But to that, I will say, if you're going to be making kind of a mistake or have a player not fully live up to their contract, it's at least a contract you can survive. This isn't like a debilitating, crippling, massive contract that you've signed somebody to. Like he does still have value. It just might not be all of the value. And thankfully the number is what it is.
Yeah.
Gru has to start next game, right? I say yes.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, it would be a lot to not start him. They need to publish John Forsland book of quotes, words to live by. Absolutely. I got to think
That would
somebody's going to
sell.
get on that. Absolutely. If there's any publishers out there, we'll try to sneak a note from you to John Forsland. See if we can make that happen as I knock over my Tylenol PMs. Mason Appleton scored for us again. From Joey. Yep, you gotta love it. Once a Kraken, always a Kraken.
When I saw him coming down on the breakaway afterward too, I was like, this would be the ultimate Appleton revenge goal, but I didn't think he was going to score.
No. Daniel, this team just needs practice time. Brutal to have this long of a road trip right after All-Star break. Agreed. I got to think that's been a lot of this.
Yeah, I agreed. Like there hasn't been time to practice, and there's a lot we've talked about. They need to practice.
Yep.
But they're coming home tomorrow. Actually, I believe they have a practice on the books for tomorrow. So I'll be there. Well, assuming they don't cancel it, but I'll be there and I'll let you know how it all goes.
I was gonna say it'll either be tomorrow or Friday that they'll get that practice in. Special teams, what you focusing on?
I would think so. Special teams have got to be an area of focus.
Yeah, it would be remarkable to me if it wasn't. Let's see. Jake proposing a trade here. Wenberg, Alexiak, and a first for Chychrun. I don't know that the Coyotes would take it, unfortunately.
No, I think they'd hang up the phone right there.
I would do that in a heartbeat, but yeah, it would. I don't know that we could swing it, unfortunately. Let's see, Light, a bit more of a negative take for me, but if Soucy will never get to live down the first Jets game and his penalty, I'm surprised the big rig doesn't get as much flack for his poor play. I understand where you're coming from there, Light, because you could argue that Soucy, while he's had a couple like big, like in the spotlight kind of blunders or moments where it seems like he kind of cost the team a win, Alexiak has really struggled all year long. But it's generally just throughout the game. It's never just right at the end, and it costs them with like 30 seconds left.
Yeah, and so visible. Yeah. Like, when you kind of punch a guy like that, it's just the kind of thing that is a lot more visible. People remember it.
Yeah. Let's see. Sean, Maddie, and Tolvanen both had great games. I thought Maddie's defensive effort was great, especially on the PK. I'm enjoying having Maddie on the PK.
Yeah, he's a fun penalty killer to watch, and especially as he grows and matures throughout his career, like and gets more dangerous offensively too. He's going to be a really good power killer.
All right, so we got 3 comments here. Basically, everybody asking who we would rather want to play. Who would we rather face in the playoffs amongst essentially all of the options here? It seems like between all 3 comments. So just RJ to you. Do you have kind of like a best case scenario opponent for the Kraken and a worst case scenario opponent for the Kraken?
Yeah, I think best case is if you can still win the division and then you're getting one of those wild card teams like say a Calgary might be pretty good. The way they've looked this season, or I mean, heck, I would take Edmonton, over some of these other teams just because I know Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl can just absolutely take over games, but they're just such a deeply flawed team with the Kraken's depth. If you're playing matchups, and especially if you have home ice, you should be able to just use your depth to kind of check them into oblivion. Like I trust the matchup there. If you don't have home ice, that can be a little scary, but if you do, I like that one. LA is kind of sneaky scary for me. If they like bring in a Jacob Chychrun too, I think they kind of need to figure that out. But if LA with Chychrun, and especially if they get Vejmelka in that deal, they could be a potentially very scary opponent. I never want to sign up for playing against Vegas. The Kraken have struggled against Vegas in the past. I don't like it. So I guess best case would be, Calgary or Edmonton, one of the Alberta teams. Worst case would be Vegas.
That's really surprising to me because I talked about it after our last game against Calgary, that Calgary is arguably the worst matchup for Seattle. Like the Daryl Sutter system just it confuses the crud out of the Seattle offense. We just can't manage to do anything there. I still think worst case scenario is you have to go over into the Central as a wild card and you end up playing Winnipeg. I truly think Winnipeg, bar none, is the worst matchup opponent for us, even though we've taken them to overtime. I just don't see how we survive a series against them. Dallas, we haven't really seen the Kraken against Dallas yet this season, so I'm kind of intrigued to see what that looks like. I'm with you. Vegas is a terrible matchup. I don't like the matchup against Calgary. I like the matchup against LA. I've been to the 2 games down here in LA. One was ridiculous, but the first one was just a really solid Kraken win. I'm trying to remember, did the Kraken win the game up in Seattle?
Yeah, they won 3-2 in overtime.
All
So,
right, so they're
it was a close
3-0.
game. Yeah.
They're 3-0 against the
That's
Kings.
right. But again, they're playing against, I believe, did they get Cal Peterson all of those games? I mean, he's in the AHL now. You're not going to get a goalie that bad that you're playing against. Felix Copley has been like, okay, serviceable,
Yeah.
which has been huge for them. So I think, again, goaltending is going to be a big difference. And then also, if they do add a Jacob Chikrin, then that's a game
Yes.
changer.
Yeah, it's obviously helps them out a lot. But yeah, Edmonton, it's just, if McDavid's gonna be able to do it or not, kind of thing. And to be honest, Vegas, like, yeah, they're still putting up points, but they're really banged up now. Who knows what that team's gonna actually be come playoff time, as far
Yeah.
as who will be healthy for them. So we'll just have to wait and see who the Kraken get. But it's just gonna be fun to be in the playoffs at all. Bottom line.
Yep.
And by the way, Jonathan Quick did play for some of that second game in LA,
There you
It
go. Okay.
it
So
wasn't
yeah.
just Cal Peterson. I'm not sure you can like read anything out of a game that finishes 9-8, but just gonna
Playoff
throw it out
hockey,
there.
you know.
They were able to score against both of them that night. I
That's what
saw it.
Allison said. Playoff style hockey, I think, is what she's
Yeah,
known for
yeah,
saying.
that's what definitely came out of that, the famous quote. Hockey 4, can we use the 25th Amendment to remove Hackstall for insanity if he puts the same shootout order out again? I mean, it fits in with the the definition for insanity. I don't know. I gotta think that he'll change it up at some point. If only because RJ, one of you in the media is going to bring it up the next time you see him, maybe tomorrow, and ask about it and maybe plant that seed in his head.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he will get asked about that. I don't know if I want to be the one to do it, but I'm sure someone will ask about it.
He might have been asked about it tonight, actually.
I would ask about it tonight if I was there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure somebody did because it's obviously something everybody has taken notice of.
Yeah.
Coop 3-on-3 seems so simple to me. Most teams score with the overlap moving puck exchange, but we never really try that. That and a breakaway off of the other team's missed shots. That's the thing that's always going to give it to you. If you can get an odd man rush going off of a missed opportunity down on one end of the ice, you are going to score more often than you are not. But otherwise, yeah, I still think the Kraken, they just at their core want to just play possession and get to a shootout, which is odd considering how poor they've been in shootouts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because they don't really force the issue. There are ways to force the issue without really giving up possession, like that kind of overlap type thing where you force the defenseman to make a choice one way or the other. Who are you going with? And the Kraken haven't really gotten to that point with it. Maybe it's because they didn't work on 3-on-3 overtime, kind of past that practice where they're like, all right, we're going to play conservative, we're going to play puck possession hockey, and that's just what we're going to do. And I think the next wrinkle to that you can add are plays to kind of safely force the issue there where you have numbers, and they just haven't had the time to work on that.
Yeah, agreed. Absurdly saying unlucky in love was the Washington Lottery Tanev ad, wasn't it? Is that what I guess it is? Yes.
Oh, that's great.
So it's very fitting for the team next year. Just got to make a bunch of those. Somebody, if your business has anything to do with Valentine's Day, contact the Kraken. See if you can work something out now. Let's see. Ty talking about that rule 84.2 that states if you pull the goalie and lose in overtime, you forfeit the points. Yeah, that's never going to happen, though. I would be very surprised if that happens at some point. Lindsay
it would
asking,
need to be last day of the season, like you happen to need the 2 points or whatever, and you just go
so
for
you're
it.
just all
and the
out.
point doesn't help you. Yeah.
Yeah. Lindsay asking if it's Jacob Megna time.
I think it could be. I mean, if you shuffle back up the D pairs and everything, I think you got to look at bringing Megna in. I mean, You brought him in via trade. I know he's not technically one of your top 6, but if you need to shake something up, I think they probably maybe want to get him a few more practices in just with the team
Yeah.
and integrating into everything. It's tough when you're brought in on a road trip and you don't have that time to kind of gel with everybody. He had to play that first game because of an injury, but I think they probably want to get him a few more practices in, just given the approach they've taken with guys like Tolvanen and Cale Fleury this season. I think that's probably the thinking there.
Right. And Borgen last year. I agree with that. Barring an injury, I don't know that we'll see him that much. Or unless, maybe a Susie trade or something happens like that, and then all of a sudden the spot opens up as well. Just gonna throw it out there just in case.
It could happen.
Just in case. Autocad, bummed there wasn't a win on my birthday, but we at least get a point, so I'll take it. Just glad the boys are coming home. Well, happy birthday. Hope you still had a good birthday.
Feels like it's everybody's birthday today.
I know, it's like 1,000 birthdays today. Good for y'all. Some more talk. Daniel, do you guys notice how much Forsland hates having to throw it to the Jack in the Box mini ads? Yes.
Yes, we do notice.
Everybody notices. It's especially fun when he really goes at it with Eddie about it. Like there's obviously stuff there with the Jack in the Box that goes back to, was that the first game of the season?
It might have been. It was a long time ago.
There was the hot mic moment.
Yeah. And there's just something funny about John Forsland, promoting like Red Bull infusions is like the perfect thing. Oh man.
Yeah. Let's see. Kraken breaking my heart on Valentine's Day. Come out of Winnipeg. Owner of a Lonely Point. Love it, Edward. Love it. Love it. Very good reference there. Ty, tomorrow night, all you armchair GMs come hang out with RJ. Time to get a bit wild with trade deadline and beyond. Yes, go ahead. Do your ad read. Whatever.
There you go.
Promotion.
Yes, I will plug the Armchair GM stream. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be a great time. That is tomorrow night, the 15th, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. So yeah, join me for that stream. It's a stream for our patrons. We're going to be looking at Armchair GM. We're going to be looking at potential trade possibilities for the Kraken. We're going to look at longer term ramifications, what that means for this off season and even next season. So we're going to play all those scenarios out, and we're going to have a lot of fun looking at all of that stuff. I am really excited to put my GM cap on here and go through all of that with you.
Yeah, and just the Armchair GM stream, the Prospect Live chats that I do, those are interactive. Like if you're a patron, not only are you getting access to the content, but you get to be a part of the content and kind of drive the conversation and stuff too. So they're always a lot of fun.
Is there a player you want the Kraken to trade for at the deadline? Someone you want to look for at the offseason, but you're not quite sure how that would fit in cap wise? Keep that in mind. Bring it up. I will try and fit it in, make it work, and see if the Kraken can do it or not.
Yeah, RJ will tell you why he doesn't want to spend that much money on them. Sorry. It's a goaltender and they want more than $5. Nope, it's not happening. Are they over the age of 30? No, just teasing. No, it's gonna be a good time. I'm looking forward.
That's the story for anybody who just spends any amount of time with me. Really, RJ telling you why he doesn't want to spend that much money on that.
Yes, exactly. Let's see. Daryl, happy with the point. Groovy killing it. Berkey back with O'Reilly and some fixes on a power play. You never know. I agree. I mean, this is still a team that we've seen them kind of go through, as Lindsay would be in here saying, this could just be a month by month thing, and February is just our down month. We could easily see all this turn around and the Kraken just kind of get right back up there where they can hang out in first in the division and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's see. So everybody kind of given their takes here on who they want. Daniel doesn't want Calgary. Tammy agrees with the Edmonton thing, but thinks Calgary's bad. Al, deeply flawed. Them's fighting words. See you March 18th. You better stay sober on St. Patty's Day. I was going to say that's an Edmonton fan there, I believe, from past streams we know.
They should know better than anybody, right?
Yeah, I was going to say. Edward, ECH postgame therapy coming up clutch, though. Much love for the channel and the community. Thank you, Edward. Right back at you. Karenza, hi, newbie question here. Why is home advantage such a big thing? It's not like baseball where the location of the fence is different. Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier with the idea of like board play could be slightly different as far as like how bouncy they are, how much you can play off of them with the puck using the boards there. But a lot of it just comes down to being able to sleep in your own bed instead of a hotel room, and being able to be around your family and have your own practice facility and medical equipment and training room and all that kind of stuff. It's more so like a familiarity and comfort thing as the idea. And then the one thing that does actually matter on ice, I'll throw it to you for this, RJ, is that you do get an advantage.
Yes, you do. So the big advantage, and this largely comes in playoff games, is last change. So how that works is the road team has to send their players out onto the ice first after any kind of stoppage, and then the home team can see who they've sent out, and so then you can counter with whatever players you want. So that's a way to get the matchups that you want basically all game long if you do it right. And in the regular season, most coaches won't bother with that; they'll just kind of roll their lines. But in the playoffs, with the games being more important, with matchups gaining extra significance as you're playing multiple games in a row against the same opponent, coaches really care about those matchups. And that's where home ice advantage is huge. And so you'll see that over the course of a playoff series if you watch the different matchups and the coaches kind of playing those lines against each other in the ways that they want at home versus on the road. So good question there, Carenza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one where, particularly in like a series against an Edmonton, like, okay, they're throwing out McDavid. You want to be able to throw out whichever player, performs the best against McDavid as far as shutting him down. I don't know on the Kraken per se who that is off the top of my head, but I'm telling you right now, the Kraken analytics department knows who that player is and can communicate that down to Dave Hackstall. And so it's one of those that whenever you're playing and another team has like that guy, you want to be able to shut down that guy. And if you've got home ice, you can.
And likewise, if you're Edmonton, you see the Kraken put out a line that's maybe not doing so hot. All right, we're going to put out Connor McDavid, and they've got to try and survive a shift against
Yeah.
McDavid.
Yeah, exactly. So you would much rather have that for a game 7 if the series is going there. Stratic, Edmonton is going to score on the power play anyway, so our bad PK is irrelevant. I don't think Stratic's wrong there.
Yeah.
I kind of actually agree with that one. Joey asking, when is Chris Drieger going to come back?
He is working his way back. I would think, maybe around the end of this month, start of March. They have an interesting decision to make as far as timing it potentially with the trade deadline, and the roster expansion that comes with that. So we'll see what they end up doing. We don't know for sure, nothing official from the team, but my guess would be in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Right. And he went on the road trip, right? Or at least the beginning of the road trip.
I believe he went on the beginning of the road trip, and he did practice with the team. So he was fully practicing with the team. So that's another good sign as far as his recovery.
Definitely. All right, let's just go like rapid fire here towards the end. Get through these. All right, let's see. Where's this one? Sorry, it jumped on me right as I was gonna go rapid fire, like the worst timing in the world. Okay, all of our games against the Jets ended 2-3 or 3-2, and now 2-3. Freaky stuff. So we're just destined to be in this, never-ending battle. This is why we don't want to deal with them in the playoffs. These games would never end without overtime, RJ. Without shootouts, these games would never end.
You asked at the beginning of this, what does that mean? They lost in a shootout for like a playoff primer. It means the game would go to double overtime and end on a weird bounce.
Yes, and we'd be having to do a post game starting at 11:30 at night.
Yeah, who wants that?
Oh, I'm so excited about the idea of maybe even doing post game for playoff games. It's gonna be epic. Kraken should make a move for DeBrincat. No. Is Edmonton even looking? Is Ottawa, looking at getting rid of him? I thought they brought him in.
No, the talk is they're not even entertaining offers for him. So I don't think that's in the cards.
Yes. Lindsay, on the bright side, February is already halfway over, and if the Kraken follow the pattern, they will have an incredible March. I'm holding true to this.
The longer this goes on, the more I'm just hoping for the pattern to hold true.
Yeah, make RJ calculate an Erik Karlsson trade.
Hey, if you come to the Armchair GM chat, you can.
Break out the actuarial tables. Is that it?
Yep.
Get it? Because he's old.
I do get it. I will break out the actuarial tables. You will not like what you see. I'll break out all the aging curves. It's not going to be good.
Yeah. For Cartel, second period line change and roster pick second. Is that for the home ice advantage there? Sorry, I'm not understanding. Do you know, RJ?
Yeah, well, second period line change is going to be, I mean, it's going to be a long change for both
Yeah,
teams. I mean, you get the last change,
yeah.
and roster picks second. I don't know, maybe you pick your starting lineup
Yeah, your
second,
starting
but
lineup second, but generally it's going to
that's
be
part of
the
last
same no
change.
matter
Yeah.
what. Yeah, yeah, that's what confirming there. Let's see. Drieger coming back answered that one. Uh, know better about staying sober. Edmonton, unlikely. The playoffs, third round last year. Don't forget Kane had 16 goals, Hyman 11, not just McDavid and Draisaitl. Just saying. Yeah, I mean Draisaitl certainly wasn't part of that run last year just because he was playing on one leg. All
I
credit
mean,
goes
that's
to
amazing.
McDavid still.
He was despite playing on one leg. It was a
Yeah, I mean, he was
fantastic
still
effort.
good. Yeah, it was a good effort from him. I still just go with, again, Connor McDavid led playoffs in scoring last season, and he didn't play past the Western Conference Finals. Like he was over 2 points per game last year. He was lights out. But they got to be able to stop the puck out. You know this. they got to be able to make some saves and play a little defense to go with all that offense, and that's still very much a question. And that's Ty's point out. Oilers got swept. Go away, lol. All right, some good stuff. We're getting ready for it. If that's the first round matchup, we're all going to be set for this. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this post game live after the shootout loss. Kraken coming home. Going to be home against the Flyers on Thursday. Great to have the team back in the state of Washington, back in Seattle. And yeah, I got to think we'll see Grubauer again after that epic performance tonight. I mean, there's still. I think the trend could still be going up after the Flyers game and then after this one, because that Flyers win we still talked about, they were a little shaky. This game looked a lot more solid from them.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what the Kraken can do back at home after, maybe a practice under their belt. I haven't checked my email to see if that practice is still happening. But I think that would be something that was really good for them.
Yeah,
And yeah, just back to their fans too at Climate Pledge Arena. It's been a while since they've been able to play in that with that home crowd. It was last month. So it'll be just good to have them back at home and, for a lot of you to be able to go and support them in person.
definitely. So we will see you all after that one, but until then, we'll see you next time. I always say that. I gotta come up with something better. See you, everybody.